welcome everybody to the exchange. Thank you, Taylor Allen, for joining me today. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I want to give just some context behind why I invited you on as my guest. I found you on Mindset Mastery with Riyadh Jones. I love that channel, with Riyadh and learning from him about mindset, especially in this field at iMastery Academy. And when I found you, I was like, oh my gosh, like, who is this young woman? And I took a couple of notes on some things that you had said, because you just immediately awestruck me. One of the things that you said was, I want a life that's beautiful, where I could be treated correctly. And so I don't know if you remember saying that, but, with that said, I always like to start my conversations off with one question, and that's, what problem would you dedicate your entire life to solving?
That's a great question. And as soon as you asked it, I already knew the answer, like already, and if there's one problem I could think of, and I would probably say, like, and Riyadh actually talks about it, like the hard work. Meaning, like, there's hard work and then there's hard work, right? And what I would definitely say, what comes naturally, what just naturally, where my heart literally like overflows with like interest and desire to like help, it's always been with women, specifically in the areas of confidence, specifically in the areas of self-worth, and just specifically in the areas of healing. I feel like every woman, I had a situation of abuse, but there are so many different scenarios that women go throughout on their journey. Prior to that, I was still I still had things that needed healing. I still had things that needed, that I needed help with, understanding, such as self-confidence, self-worth, body image. It was just so many different things. So I would definitely say, the one problem that I would dedicate my entire life, money or not, whether I got paid for it or not, to solving, it would definitely be in the realm of like women's development, a woman's journey in life. I feel that we are so beautiful. We're so, multifaceted, multidimensional. And like I have a great relationship with my mom, and I've seen her. Like, when you say superwoman, like, women to me are just superwoman. They do it all, especially now. They work, they cook, they clean, they comfort. They just do everything. And you're never really gonna hear her complain unless it's to another woman, meaning somebody that could actually understand and could actually feel and connect with whatever pain that woman is necessarily feeling. So I would definitely say just that as a whole would probably, no contest. That would definitely be something that I would be dedicated to doing.
Wow. That jumps me right into my second question. I love my mom too. I actually come from a family of women. Mm-hmm. I'm the daughter of 12 siblings, and I'm the baby of 12 siblings, not the daughter. That would be awful. But and then just mother, grandma, aunts. So I think that's amazing that's your calling, and that you just have this divine feminine energy with you that's just like your calling to serve. And I think that's one of the things that drew me to you. It's like, who is this cherished being who's just in her divinity, like in her divine femininity? And I'm curious to know, like, where the woman-air came from. Like, where did that come from?
Yes. So prior to being the woman-air, I actually had Miss CEO. So that was my whole thing. I wanted a Instagram name that was like apart from Taylor, because, you gotta understand, at certain parts of my journey, I basically had to recreate myself. I had to rebuild, so to speak. When you live your whole life taking in this opinion, taking in this ideology, taking in this role, that you're supposed to be playing, And then you get to a point, you know, and I know a lot of people, they call it a midlife crisis. I felt like I went through it at like 20 something, where it was literally like, I don't want none of this. I don't like this. This is who you want me to be. This is who you expect me to be. This is where you believe I should be. And I don't want to be any of it, you know? And I did it, I took it, and I don't want any of it. So, and I'm also a graphic designer. I'm an artist. So I always feel like I take things super deep. Okay. I just feel like I'm just such a deep person. Like sometimes I ask God, like, God, why does everything have to be so deep with me? Like it's just ridiculous. So when I was on Instagram, you know, this is my place of expression, my place of just, you know, like my online sanctuary, whatever you want to call it. And I was thinking, I want to recreate a person. I want to be who I want to. I want to post what I want to talk about. I want to really let go. And like, that's why I'm so transparent on social media. You know, like I want to be a place where I could just be me. And I don't want it to be Taylor even included, you know, and not getting rid of my identity, just saying that I want to create my own identity. I want to create who I want to be, because I'm going to have to be her for a very long time. So what I want to do is I want to create her myself. So it was initially Miss CEO. And then, of course, as my popularity grew, people would begin to like kind of take my name. And mind you, it's a blanket name. Anybody can use CEO. And rather than just like, guys, stop stealing my name, you know, because I'm not like that. I was like, let me just recreate something else. So I literally I was looking on social media. You know, I'm looking at different people's Instagram name. And for most people, you know, it's so funny that you said that. For most people, they have a different kind of name, meaning like a significant name. Now, my name is Taylor Allen. It's like 2 last names. People have told me that my whole life. So Taylor Allen, there's nothing really like, I mean, it's a very plain kind of name. You get me? So I didn't want to use my real name for multiple reasons. And so I literally, I came across this page called the Womanaires Club. And basically what it is they would have like women's retreats, probably like every quarter. And it's like a sleepover style, you know, but it's like a retreat completely dedicated to like women, meaning things that women go through, whether it be relationships, heartbreak, you know, business, school, all kinds of stuff. It was women from all over, all different types of backgrounds. And basically they do events together. And I always thought of doing women's events. And so I was like, the Womanaire, that's perfect, because it encompasses the woman, you know, which is something that I just feel so connected to, something so, you know, special to me. And then adding the air on the back, like billionaire, millionaire, you know, we're investing, you know, we're talking about a financial space. You get, so I was like, the Womanaire, that's perfect, you know, because it's not even just about being a millionaire or a billionaire. Like, no, a Womanaire, that's different. You know, a Womanaire, it speaks something different. You know, it says something different, because you're taking a woman and you're putting her in a space where maybe she doesn't normally thrive. You know, maybe she doesn't normally be respected unless she takes on the qualities of that space. But the Womanaire is saying, no, I'm gonna embody myself in this space. And I'm going to utilize it as my power. You know, I'm going to utilize it as something that's going to allow me to be powerful in this space, rather than subtracting it so I can be powerful. No, it's because of this is why I'm going to be powerful in this space. So yes, nobody has ever asked me that before, but yes, that's literally how I came up with the Womanaire.
Well, you know, okay, so I was just all of that, right? All of that, investing in women, right? Investing in ourselves, helping each other grow, you know, multiplying our potential. You know, those are the things that come to my mind now that you've explained it. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense, you know, but it's priceless. You know, a billionaire has a price on it. A millionaire has a price on a trillionaire, you know. Womanaire, that's endless supply of life.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the endless supply of life. And I'm glad that I was the first to ask you that question. So now I want to go back to something that you said around confidence. you know, and that being something that's super important to you, you know, that women, that you can help solve that problem, really, of a lack of confidence, right? A lack of belief in yourself. And I think that's one of the things that I struggled with, coming into a completely different space of this platform that we have, of iMastery, right? Like this foreign exchange, all of that, like completely separate from my nurturing self. You know, my, like, this is cold, it's money, it's, you know, it's intimidating because it's like all these rich people, and it's like, what in the world, you know? And so that would be an automatic confidence buster for a lot of people. I'm certain I wasn't the only one who's ever experienced that, you know. And then if you add like problems, right, on top of it, like life issues, then you got a whole nother set of stuff, you know, hence, you know, I got issues, right? Like, and so I guess my question is, like, what was your pivotal moment when you were like reaching your all-time low, when you had all of your problems? Can you kind of describe that pivotal moment for you where you decided, instead of going low, I'm going to aim higher?
Yes, absolutely. It would definitely be, without a doubt, last year, around June. That was like the lowest part of my life, meaning, and at the same time, it was the most powerful. You know, it was the most, like, I received the most out of it. But the reason why, you know, and it was a breakup. You know, one of my friends actually told me, you know, Taylor, I love breakups, because with breakups come breakthroughs. And I'll never forget that, because I literally was like, that's crazy. That's literally how this breakup made me feel. That's literally how this breakup, like what it did in my life. And it was the lowest point of my life for multiple reasons, which is why I think the woman's journey is so intricate and it's so delicate, because what people may have seen was a breakup, right? That was the first level of them understanding that Taylor's going through something. But what people don't realize, I think, is that is just the first layer. You know, especially in that time of my life, it was like the cherry on top. It was nowhere near as big of my world crashing down. Like when I thought of, man, my world is really crashing down, it wasn't even just because of the relationship. It was so many factors that I had to deal with. But I'm so thankful and grateful for that happening, because I had to unpeel so much. I had to take off so many layers of things. And I know that that's why I was able to not just point my focus in a different direction, but excel in that direction, because I had to release so many layers of things. You know, for example, dealing with the breakup, that was one thing. But then I also had to deal with the shame of, I'm 20 something years old. I just left a Christian school where everybody's goal at the end of the 4 years is to be engaged or married. You know, why do I even think that that's a level of success? Why do I even aspire to, who told me that that was the timeline? You know what I'm saying? Who told me that that was God's plan for me? And I'm not saying that that wasn't God's plan for them, but who said that that was God's plan for me? And who said, where in the Bible, what scripture is it about when you go to university, by the 4th year, you need to be engaged or married? Like, who put that timeline on me? And furthermore, I have to release that pressure. You know, when you have, for me, I had lived my whole life being this picture perfect cookie cutter person, meaning I don't bend, I don't break. Okay, good grades, went to high school, graduated, homecoming queen. I did all these things, you know, all these just things that are just what is expected of you, what people say about you, what people want you to do. And I had lived, I mean, the short time, really, but I lived majority of my life thinking that, believing that, you know, all these things. So honestly, when that breakup happened, it was dealing with that. And then also dealing with the reality is that why would you let a person treat you like that? It wasn't even so much anger towards the person. It was anger towards myself. So then that was a whole other layer. You know, my dad had to tell me. He said, Taylor, I'm not concerned with you forgiving him. I know you've already done that. My concern is when you're going to forgive yourself. And I immediately broke down crying when he asked me that. Because just like you, it was a question nobody had asked me. You know, people asked me about the wedding, about the dress, about you know, I'm praying for you, but I'm also secretly trying to figure out, you know, what's going on. My dad was the only one that literally said, when are you going to forgive yourself, though?
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I want to grab my tissue like right now because
that's real talk. It was like when things happen in a woman's journey, very seldomly are we saying, for the people, let's be honest, women forgive probably that same moment. Before you even say sorry, I probably already forgiven you in my heart, or at least have spoken the forgiveness. But it's a whole other layer to deal with when am I going to forgive myself? When am I going to have that conversation with myself where it's like, why did you let this happen?
Yeah, it's value. It's I think we can forgive ourselves at the level that we value that we deserve forgiveness.
There it is. And there it is right there. So how do you forgive yourself when you feel like you have no worth? Because according to the world's worth, or what people thought was worthy, you don't match up to that. You have not fulfilled that. So I had this, my mom calls it false burden. I had this false burden on myself, as if I hadn't accomplished or I hadn't fulfilled this expectation made by who? You get me? I was more ashamed. Let me tell you, I was more ashamed to tell my parents that I wasn't getting married and somebody was physically abusing me. I was more ashamed of that than actually being in the relationship. That right there shows you how powerful these roles are, like how powerful other people's expectations, other people's desire, like how powerful someone else's voice can be in your life. I was more ashamed. Yes.
Projection of somebody else's limiting belief system onto you, you know, like this is what you have to do. And for me, and I didn't think this was gonna come up, but you got me thinking about kind of like my why for even finishing college, right? Like I went to North Carolina A&T State University, and it was like very important to go to school and get a degree, and that's all I knew that I needed to do. And I became a mom my senior year, and we broken up with the boyfriend before I even knew I was pregnant. So it was like, well, you know, what do you do with that? And so his family kind of swooped in and said, hey, you know, we'll help while you finish your last year, because my bottom fell out. My family wasn't there to support. And so they did that, and that's a whole nother story within itself. But I guess what's coming up for me as you share this is this false sense of security too. You know, these are the things that we think are important, our degrees. These are the things that we think are important, a piece of paper you're still paying for today. You know, and I was an English major and I love words, and that's why I asked you about Womanaire. But you know, like when it all came down to it, like, was it really that important for me to finish college at the expense of the time that I needed to spend with my newborn, my 1-year-old, you know, at the time? So, you know, and the shame and the guilt, right? And so what do? We cover up. We cover that up. We do more to please others until we're empty inside. And we have to create a new identity for ourselves.
Yeah. And my mom, she used to always tell me, like, you know, Taylor, you're the one kid who you didn't need to get in trouble 1,000 times. It was kind of like, after that one time, you were pretty like set in stone. You get, and at this particular time, you know, to answer your initial question, at this particular time, I literally was just like, I don't think I could go through this again. Meaning, I don't think I could, furthermore, I don't want to process this all again. So how about we just do a deep cleanse, and restart all the way over? Because if this is what following these ideas has got me, I don't want none of these ideas. It's not just a situation. I don't want none of the ideas that came with it. I don't want anything that can lead me back to this destination to ever come around again. So I'm going to spend however long it takes breaking down every single last, like, I think what sometimes, and this is why I feel dedicated to a woman's journey. Number one, it's never going to end. You're always going to be on a woman's journey. But I also feel so dedicated to it because I understand how intricate it is. I understand that it's not just surface level or of, oh, you just don't like hanging around women. No, there's a reason for that. It's something very deep about that. You know, there's something deeper than just, you know, blanket statements that we say, like, I just have to get this degree. I just have to get this stuff done. There's something underlying there that maybe you haven't dealt with yet. And when I thought about it, a lot of people, and you're so right, when you're going through something like this, you tend to cover.
Mm-hmm.
You tend to Band-Aid it. You know, you tend to, you know, not confront it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to handle it head on. I wanted to rip it like head on from the root. Like I don't want any part of it anymore. And I want to come to a space, to a place where I could live in complete freedom. I would say right now, my life, I am so free from so many of all those things that I was dealing with. And honestly, it was through me not rushing that process. See, in that covering up, you're trying to rush through the pain. I sat through the pain. Mm-hmm. I felt through the pain. I let the thoughts pass. I let them pass completely from the top of my head to the soles of my feet. I wanted to completely pass through me so that it could be out, so that it can be flushed. You get me? What we try to do is we just try to scrub, we just try to clean it up. No, I wanted to flush it out. And sometimes flushing out means sitting in that shame so that you can understand that shame, so that you can move past that shame. We don't want to sit in it because it's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good. But that's how bad I want it different. Is I said, I'm going to feel this until I can't feel it no more. If I'm angry, I'm going to let it all out. If I'm crying, I'm going to cry every single day because it has to be flushed out. It's not something that I could rush through. It's not something that I could Band-Aid. If I Band-Aid this and I knew what the result would be, I'm going to be honest with you. If I Band-Aid this at this point in my life, I may never recover. I may never be able to do the complete flush that I really need. I can't put this off for in my 30s or in my 40s. It might be too late then. That's 40 years of conditioning. Girl. It might be too late. So I want to do it now. I want to flush it out now. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking I'm young. I'm not too attached to really any idea at this point. I mean, I've only been thinking it for 20 something years. That's easy. That's 5 times my life. I have 4 more times to think something completely different. Oh. And the thing is that a lot of women are attached to a woman that they don't even like because they don't want to do the work to recreate another one.
Okay, breath of fresh air. You are a breath of fresh air.
Thank you.
I was like, why?
I wish we would have went live. I'm like, dang, I should have charged my phone and been ready.
I mean, I only have like 2 more questions, maybe 3. 3 more questions, but I mean, that's everything. I was born and raised in the Nation of Islam. You're from Cali. You're from Oakland.
Well, I went to school in Cali. I'm originally from Indiana, so that's where I grew up and everything. But I went to college in California.
Are you familiar with the Nation and the bean pies and bow ties?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Okay, so like that was my upbringing. So it was just like if you wear a certain thing a certain way, like if I showed it my clavicle, that was a problem. You know, if I look a man in the eye, can't do that.
Oh wow.
I was already kind of set up for like, and so when I got to college, it was like, woo, freedom. You know,
Yes.
and make you just do whatever you want does not mean that you just do whatever you want. But my little mind, I didn't know better. And so because of that belief system that I was already kind of nurtured in, it was like, oh man, you're a bad girl. You did wrong. You know, and it's like you throw yourself right into that purgatory. And so from that you just talked about of just sitting in your stuff, you know, now I practice Nichiren Buddhism, so I chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo like Tina Turner. If you ever seen What's Love Got to Do with It? I think that was another thing that brought me like your life to mind, because that was the reason why she started chanting, was because she wanted to get out of an abusive relationship. And so, you know, within my Buddhist practice, so I was just like, I got to transfer my karma. This is me. And that's where I started. That was 13 years ago. But even like last week, I was like, okay, I'm casting off the transient and revealing the truth. That's the concept in my practice, you know. And so when you talk about, you know, the onion and unpeeling these layers and taking these things off, you know, I'll also look at that as a lotus flower, which is the only thing that blossoms and seeds at the same time in a swamp.
Yes.
The only flower that grows in a swamp is this beautiful, pure, unsullied flower. And that's what you are. That's what I am, you know, it's what we are if we just allow ourselves to sit in the swamp and recognize that it didn't get any worse than this.
Wow.
So might as well just unfold. Go ahead.
that right there, I'm telling you, I was like, whoa, I have never thought of it like that. That just really did something to me. I'm not gonna lie. Like, wow, that is, I'm still trying to process. I'm like, wow, that was really on point. For real though.
But you're doing it.
Because I'm just like, that is, and you know, people, and I'm so appreciative. You know, on that journey, I really got to see my support system. It's amazing. You know, on that journey, I gained a new support system, which is like my online audience, right? Which has been amazing to have. And that's why I, again, feel so connected, because it was women who were going through similar things and women you would never think. And that's how people saw me. You would never think. You would never believe. You wouldn't assume that. That's not something you would assume. And I'm talking about women from all over. And it was like an epiphany, like a paradigm shift, where it was like, whoa, this is a real need in a woman's community. There needs to be a real space. There needs to be more spaces. Like what we're doing right now, there needs to be more spaces like this. Because it's like we had never even had a convo before. But just the fact that I'm able to speak and you're able to speak and we connect and understand at a level that most people wouldn't, that a man wouldn't, or that, you know what I'm saying, somebody who didn't have that same pain or that same journey, before it to be so similar, almost in sync, is something that, like you said before, it's priceless. It's so delicate. It's something that is so special, meaning that there's no way, there's no coincidence in the world that could have put that together. And I'm sure the same as you. We have these conversations with all kinds of women. I'm talking about all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of religions, all kinds of ethnicities. How in the world are all of these things connected and so similar? And that's what I think makes the woman's journey so special and powerful. Like I had spoke about on a call that we did, I think maybe 2 days ago, we did a women's call. And I was saying that you gotta know that there's something powerful about a woman. All women. Because the fact of the matter is that for us all to have some part of our journey that needs some healing, you know, that means it is some part of our journey that is meant to heal others. I get so excited now about telling my story because I'm able to show a different side of a woman that just left an abusive relationship. I get to show her a destination. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes when you leave that, you don't know where your life's about to go, to be honest. You're like, I'm glad I did it. I'm scared. And that's why some women go back, because they don't have a destination when they leave.
I'll tell you that while I was not in a physically abusive relationship, I had been in a mentally abusive relationship for almost 13 years.
Wow.
And I had I left and then go back, leave, come back, leave, come back. And, you know, codependence, things like that get in the way. And I finally, this year actually was the year that I decided to take my power back, like all the way back. I flew out to LA. I went on a healing retreat, came back to COVID and the lockdown, then still had to face him. And I was like, okay, well, I got to still face you, but I don't know how to like get away from this, because it's such a, you know, it's mental, right? And my womb locked down. TMI, not really, because I was like, you know what? I can't control anything but me. Yeah. And she says, like, we're good. Like, we're not doing this anymore. And so then that was one part of my power taken back. But that's like all your power. It's like all of it. Like my mentor trying to, well, I don't know what she calls it a shanana. She says, I feel it in my shanana a lot. But I'm like, you know what? Like, that's probably where I felt my power come in. Like, no, let me take my power back. Yes. You know, and so this whole going back, coming back, but then when you decide, it's a scary place to like not go back, and like you like how much do you have to be burned in the fire before you realize like that you're in it? And a lot of people don't realize that they're in it.
No, you don't. You don't. You really don't. It was like, you know, and I call the moment that I had, it was like God literally rebirthing me. I promise you. Because let me tell you why. Because I was dead set on marrying this person. I knew what I was going through. I completely understood it, and this is the crazy thing, and this is why I'm so dedicated to healing now and wholeness, is because I was able to function in dysfunction. I was able to excel, so to speak, by the world's terms, in negativity.